What happens when the appraisal comes in low? Because this is one of the most stressful moments buyers face, especially if you offered over asking and thought the hard part was already done. You negotiated the price, you got your offer accepted, and finally felt some relief. And then the appraisal comes in and everything feels uncertain again. Here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. So when you buy a home with a loan, the bank orders an independent appraisal, and then that appraiser's job is not to justify your offer or make the deal work. It's to protect the lender by confirming the value based on closed sales and current market data. If the appraised value comes in at or above your offer price, great. Nothing changes and the loan moves forward. But if it comes in lower, that's where things get uncomfortable. The lender will only finance based on the appraised value, not the price that you agreed to pay. And the difference between those two numbers is called the appraisal gap, and someone has to cover it. The bank won't, so that leaves the buyer and seller to figure it out. And at that point, there really are only a few options. One option is renegotiating the price, where your agent goes back to the seller and says, here's the appraised value, and asks if they're willing to adjust. And sometimes sellers agree to reduce the price. Sometimes the sellers agree, sometimes they meet halfway, and other times they say no. Another option is for the buyer to bring in additional cash to cover the difference, which is where the appraisal gap coverage comes into play. And when used strategically, it can strengthen an offer without fully exposing your savings. The third option is that deal falls apart if neither side can bridge the gap, which is why appraisal strategy matters before you even write the offer, not after. In competitive markets, buyers often feel pressure to offer over asking just to stay in the game. And sometimes that might be the right move, but offering over asking without a clear appraisal plan is where buyers can get into trouble fast. One of the biggest misconceptions I see is that assuming because multiple offers came in high and they're over the list price that the home will automatically appraise. But appraisers don't work off of competition or emotion from the buyer pool. They work off of those closed sales and objective data. This is also where buyers accidentally put their savings at risk, because agreeing to an unlimited appraisal gap coverage without understanding the numbers can mean committing tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket for a home that may not support that value long term. A good strategy balances competitiveness and protection. Before I ever recommend an appraisal gap approach, I look at the comps, the likelihood of appraisal support, the buyer's cash reserves, and how badly they want that specific home, because not every deal deserves the same risk. It's also important to know that a low appraisal isn't automatically a deal killer. Some of the cleanest negotiations happen after an appraisal because the data is now on the table and sellers are forced to react to reality instead of hype. What matters most is that buyers understand their options and their limits, because no home is worth putting yourself in a financial position that feels unsafe. This is exactly why representation matters, because writing an offer isn't just about the price. It's about protecting you when something unexpected happens, and it does happen. Appraisals are one of the most common curveballs in a transaction. If you're thinking about buying and want an agent who will walk you through appraisal strategy before you write the offer, instead of after you're already stressed, message me and I'll show you how I help buyers compete confidently while still protecting their money and peace of mind.